Gabriele Bortoleto has just won the Formula 2 Championship in his debut year, the highest accolade you can achieve at a junior level. But is he the best ever F2 champion? Well, I'd say that you should probably watch the rest of this video to find out, as I am. Quick disclaimer, these are only the champions in the newly rebranded Formula 2 Championship from 2017 onwards, so drivers such as Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg and Jolyon Palmer will be missing out. And I am ranking drivers based off their championship winning season as opposed to their careers as a whole or their level of skill. So going from worst to best, the first driver will be Nick De Vries. I think it's common knowledge now that the 2019 F2 grid, the year De Vries won the title, is the worst F2 grid we've probably ever had. Like, De Vries' title rival was Nicholas bloody Latifi. As well as that, his teammate was Nikita Mazepin. And if you're asking, he finished 18th in the standings. De Vries was in his third F2 season and 8th in single-seaters, which, spoiler alert, is the most out of every champion here. He was driving for ART in 2019, which had just taken George Russell to the title the year prior, so De Vries really had it all going for him that year. At the age of 24, he's also the oldest champion on this list too. However, Nick did achieve 12 podiums, which is the most out of all the champions on this list, and on the calendar with the fewest races. It does feel extremely harsh to be having to say all this about an F2 champion, but here we are. In 7th place will be Théo Pourchaire. This may be the weirdest one, as many would argue that 2023 wasn't his best F2 season. Pourchaire decided to remain with ART in 2023, which turned out to be a great choice. Théo started his season off fantastically as he won the first feature race of the season in Bahrain. However, that was his last win of the season as he failed to win any more that year. So that means he actually won more races in his previous 2 seasons. Théo narrowly beat Frédéric Vesti to the title by 11 points. And perhaps Théo was quite fortunate as Vesti crashed on his way to the grid in Spa, so was unable to start the race, and lost one of his wheels after a faulty pit stop in Zandvoort. Théo was also helped by having a weaker F2 field to compete against compared to other champions. Pourchaire's rookie teammate, Victor Martins, did have the better of Théo in qualifying, with Martins achieving more pole positions throughout the year. Pourchaire won the title with the fewest points out of all the champions and has a 3% win rate, and is the champion with the fewest wins in the season, so that is why I'm placing him this low. 10 podiums throughout the year isn't outstanding compared to others as well, especially when this was a 26 race calendar. Pourchaire's consistency really helped propel him to the title, but all this wasn't enough for an F1 seat. In 6th place, I have Mick Schumacher. The German driver won the title in 2020, which was a much weirder year of F2 as it was during COVID. This meant the first 10 rounds of the 12-round calendar were over 13 weeks, meaning that there wasn't any time for drivers to make mid-season improvements. Schumacher did achieve just 2 wins and 10 podiums during his run to the title, which is just one more than Pourchaire achieved, who I've ranked 1 place lower. You may remember Schumacher's fire extinguisher incident in Austria, where a rogue bit of debris hit his Prema's fire extinguisher, causing it to go off inside the cockpit. Yeah, as unlucky as you can get. Fortunately, his title rival Callum Ilott experienced misfortune too, which helped Schumacher pip him to the title by 14 points in the end. Consistency was Schumacher's strength, but he really lacked a race win until the 8th round in Monza, where he finally stood on the top step. Mick did have the benefit of being with Prema, who by then in F2 had finally got their act together after a couple of off seasons. Some people were more impressed by his rookie teammate Robert Schwartzman, who finished 4th. This will be 6th in this list for Schumacher, who is the first one so far to be directly promoted to F1 right after winning the F2 championship. In 5th place, I'm putting Felipe Drugovich there. The Brazilian was racing for MP Motorsport in 2022, which makes him the only driver to win the F2 championship whilst driving for the Dutch team. Like Pourchaire and De Vries, Felipe won his title in his 3rd year of F2. Drugovich, also being 22 years old when he won the championship, makes him the 2nd oldest champion after De Vries. But despite that, Felipe absolutely destroyed the competition in 2022, taking home 5 wins and 11 podiums. He also had a monstrous 101 point gap to Théo Pourchaire in 2nd place in the standings, which is the largest on this list. Drugovich was fortunate though that season, as his supposed title rivals really struggled with form, whether that was being given a horrific engine or saying racial slurs on Twitch streams. The grid in 2022, in my opinion, was also a bit weaker than it has been in other years. Drugovich was also in his 7th single single-seater season when he clinched the title, which is the second most after De Vries on this list. He had plenty stellar drives throughout the season, such as claiming both victories during the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. Shout out to Clement Novalak for helping MP Motorsport claim the team's championship title that year. Anyway, the way Felipe absolutely owned the whole championship that year is why I'm placing him in 5th. We're now entering the top 4 drivers who have all won the championship in their debut seasons. In 4th place will be the newest champion, Gabriel Bortoleto. Like his compatriot Drugovich, Gabriel wasn't driving for one of the big boy teams, ART or Prema, but instead chosen Victor Racing. In the end though, that turned out to be a fantastic choice as ART and Prema really struggled to adapt to the new F2 regulations. Bortoleto picked up 2 wins and 8 podiums on his journey to the title, which is the second fewest wins and number of podiums out of all the champions on this list. With 2024 also being a 28 race calendar, that does not give Bortoleto the best case. However, I'd say this can be excused as the 2024 season was very odd with a number of different drivers who managed a podium and a win. Anyway, Bortoleto narrowly beat Isaac Hadjar to the title by just 22.5 points in the end and destroyed his teammate Kush Miney. He had an excellent weekend at Monza where he turned last on the grid into a feature race win, which was massively helped by a convenient safety car and, well, the Monza circuit not exactly being great for overtaking. Regardless, fantastic to achieve this in a debut season. So in 3rd place will be Oscar Piastri. The Aussie was driving for Prema in 2021 in his debut year of F2 where he won the title. He absolutely destroyed all competition that came his way as he finished 60.5 points ahead of 2nd place, which was his teammate Robert Schwartzman. Piastri achieved 6 wins and 11 podiums throughout the season, meaning he had a 25% win rate. This cannot be slept on. I think people also forget how good a driver Schwartzman is and how he was the clear favourite to win F2 in 2021. So for Oscar to show up and win that convincingly is superb. He was so dominant that he literally did donuts in an F2 car. Do you not understand how insane that is when you have a Mechachrome engine in the back of that car? Only downside of this all was that he was an Alpine junior driver, so he was as likely to be promoted to the F1 team as Jack Doohan is to last the whole of 2025. Piastri did eventually, after a lot of drama, get a move to McLaren though. This F2 season was so good from Piastri, but unfortunately it'll take some topping to knock the top 2 off their spots in this list. In 2nd is of course George Russell. The current Mercedes Formula 1 driver was driving for an ART in the iconic 2018 season of F2. We cannot forget Russell's performances that year whilst competing for the title against Lando Norris and Alex Albon, as well as facing fierce competition from other drivers such as Roy Nissany, Sean Gallal and Nicholas Latifi. George took home 7 wins, which is the most in a single season, as well as 11 podiums along the way, meaning he had a strong 29% win rate, the second highest win rate ever in F2. Destroyed his teammate Jack Aitken, who eventually replaced him in a one-off appearance at Sakhir for Williams as Russell briefly raced for Mercedes. And I haven't even mentioned how George did all this in a rookie season. He got the F1 promotion the following year. Unfortunately, it was in the worst ever F1 car. He's thriving now though at Mercedes. Top quality F2 title, however, Russell would unfortunately miss out on top spot to his current rival as it would take some topping to beat his F2 championship. Now in 1st place, it has to be Charles Leclerc. You all know about his iconic F2 title. The Monegasque driver was racing for Prema in the first ever year of the newly rebranded Formula 2 Championship. He took home 7 wins, the most ever in a season, as well as 10 podiums. Furthermore, Leclerc had a 32% win rate, which just narrowly beats Russell's win percentage. Charles absolutely obliterated the competition by finishing 72 whole points ahead of runner-up Artem Markelov. From his debut at Bahrain, you just knew he'd be special after he pitted in a sprint race and went on to win it. He went from 14th to 1st in 8 laps. Absolutely generational. Leclerc was racing alongside his good friend and now current Ferrari driver in the World Endurance Championship, Antonio Fuoco, who was no slouch by the way, but did struggle in comparison to Leclerc as he was down in 8th in the standings. One of the more impressive things about his championship was how he did it in his 4th season of single-seaters, the fewest out of everyone on this list. Even more impressive when you consider how De Vries took double that time. Leclerc got the promotion to F1 the following season up with Sauber, and as they say, the rest is history. Not much more to add for the Ferrari driver. Big 1st place. That's been my ranking of all the F2 champions. Please, please, please subscribe. I'm on my knees for 100 subscribers. Oh, and hit like as well. So with all that, I'll see you all later.